Is Thursday, October 19th. Was a very volatile day, very, very volatile. But the reason why is you always want to know what is going on, and say whether there's news or somebody speaking. So at 11 o'clock, you had Powell speaking. So you will see what happens right at 11 and why it's important to know what is going on. But at the end of the day, the rules still stand. When I say rules, it's your morning 9 or 9:30 candle, or did we make new lows at 10:30, or hey, where are we at in reference at that 12 or 12:30 candle? You got to compartmentalize your morning session, your afternoon session, and whether we're going to have continuation and where your best risk is. You can't predict the future, but you can always get in at good spots to know what direction we're going to go, and you got to hold and wait for the bigger picture. You can easily get chopped up, if you get into the wrong position. So let's go ahead and talk about today and how it was a relatively easy day if you understood what was going on. That's the key, understood. And it can definitely chop you out, but that's why I have those rules for a reason. But you notice that all day yesterday, we actually, on a 5-minute, we were in a trend, or a clear defined trend. That's why I love using 5 minutes. If you would have done 15 minutes, you would have saw a lot of wicks, and those wicks is what you see, this volatility. But here we still held that. We held it all the way down until the Feds, and then the Feds, once they spoke, I would throw all like patterns, or trends out the window, because anything could happen. You just have to stick with getting at levels and really size appropriately, or not trade at all, because you can easily get stopped out by 20 points and then it ends up reversing. The rules are different around news, as in, instead of giving yourself a 10-point buffer, it could be 30 points, and you never know when that's going to happen. So let's take a look at just the morning session. If we were just playing morning, you won't be able to see my Renko charts, but if you notice why I say it's important that first 30 minutes, especially the first, say, 15 minutes, is you see on this 5-minute candle, we actually gapped up, but we were hovering around that bull pivot. So that is really hard to trade, because it could pop up, fake you out, come back down, but you can see we were in this, still consolidating in this trend area. So that 5-minute candle never closed above. So what do? You short, and then you go all the way down here. That was about 60-point move. And then what do you do when it gets down here? You go long until proven otherwise. And then what does it do? It ends up coming all the way up here. Now it breaks out, but then the immediate next candle comes all the way back down. So the moment you saw it coming back down into the pivot, that's a failed breakout. And immediately what you should be thinking of, immediately when you see this, is box play. What are we at? We are in box play. We are between the bull and bear pivot. So that's the range that we're going to have. And sure enough, it coincides with the trend. So if you have this trend, if you saw that, even if you didn't have technical analysis, screw it. Get rid of that. And just let's stick to rules. First 30 minutes, we're below here. What happens after the first hour? First hour, we're still below here. So, even if you missed all of this, what you want to do is you want to be looking for VWAP. You want to be looking for VWAP now that you're in, that's your reference, now that you're in the box. And sure enough, it came up, came down. For about half an hour or so or more, it just sort of chopped around here, and it wasn't fun. But eventually, it made the move. And it made the move and got all the way down at 10:15. Did we make new lows by the end of 10:30? No, we did not. So I'm immediately going long right here. So what? So it comes right down and didn't even get to the level. So I got in right before, and immediately, or didn't I say immediately? It ended up consolidating just for a few minutes down here, and then reversed. And here was another 60 points. So you got 60 points down, 60 points up, 60 points down, 60 points down again, 60 points up. That was your morning session. It's just playing. This is probably for me the most lucrative type of days in the morning sessions, because your range, and it's easier to play these smaller range and hold than it is to play these larger ranges and hold, because we all have a hard time, holding for 100-point moves, and it might take an hour or two, versus, a nice 50, 60 points, we can easily hold for at least half an hour to get to where we need to go. Here you can see this happened in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes. This happened in 5, 10, 15 minutes. So if you can get in and you can hold for at least half an hour, then you're at least going to get, in these kind of plays, you're going to get your 50, 60 point move. Now you can see, but look at the pattern. Did you notice this? Okay, so that's what you have. You have a higher low, and so once again you have a consolidation pattern, break. So now that you have this break, I'll give you another TA tip. Right where the break is, right there. See where it broke and then it came down? That is now I considered resistance. So if you see how it came up here, resistance. Came all the way down. When it came back up, resistance. It was resistance until 11 o'clock, and then Powell finally spoke. Now, once that happens, just like the past videos that you've watched, remember, you switch to volatility mode. Volatility mode is you use bigger time frames. So knock everything else out the window, erase it, and start playing with your bigger time frames, which would be your multi-day pivots. Once you do that, you will see that trading becomes a little bit easier on like how things close. So let's take a look right here. You mix it between your intraday pivots and your multi-day. So multi-day means you got to have closes. So what do? We ended up shooting up, but could not close above, and then immediately, within 10 minutes, we dropped 100 points, and that was from the bull pivot to the bear pivot. We went right up to the fib, and then came all the way down to the fib. Then it ended up reversing. It faked a lot of people out here because you could see how these wicks were. It shot up here, then shot back below, then probably shot back up. You're not seeing a 1 minute candle, a 2 minute, but you're noticing that you have to be super nimble with volatility until they shake it out, because a lot of it is whether it's like options or liquidity, there's just a lot of IV, and so a lot of that stuff is being adjusted. So again, everything is support or resistance until proven otherwise. So here, and timing. So what are we at right here? This is 12 o'clock. Did we make new highs? No, we did not. So what am I going to do? I'm going to short it. What did we do at 12:30? Did we make new highs? No, it's right here. We are now back below that bull pivot. You see how the 30-minute overlay candles, see this wick down, see this wick up, see this wick down. You see how this is sort of like really choppy? And so this should tell you that if we're not closing, remember how I tell you want to see these closes? Well, if you're not closing even on the 30-minute, then it's telling you you're boxed in. So here we go. We're boxed in again. What do? You aim down here. That's another 100 points. It wasn't until right here you had a new TPO that you consolidated a bunch. When you broke new time period, immediately you should know to go short. Why? Look at this. This is a measured move. Right here, consolidate for 30 minutes, and then we go all the way down. And there's your measured move. And so that's how we went to the mid-range for the afternoon. So this was considered a morning box play to an afternoon because of volatility mid-range play. And then even better, if you're able to catch those consolidation patterns, then you can really play with that volatility. So you see how you're getting higher lows, lower highs, higher lows coming back down. Right here, you could just draw a line and use that as resistance until proven otherwise. So comes up here, short it. Comes up here, short it. This is your target, but I actually immediately reversed right in here after it consolidated and popped back up. And then I targeted to up here, which is about 50 points. And then these last two candles are what happened right at the end of the, actually, this was the last 5 minutes of the day, and this was the last 10 minutes after the market closed. They came all the way back down. But if you look at your multi-day pivots, you see how here is your bull, bear, and now we're down to the mid-range on the multi-day. So tomorrow, I'm expecting possibly this right here to either break out and then come up here and test the bear pivot, and then that would be your higher low, and then reverse possibly in the afternoon to come back down here. If we end up gapping down, this area is super critical because this right here is where we broke out the zone from on a couple weeks ago. If we break and gap down below here, we could definitely see a full ATR range for the week, even though it's rare. You usually see how the week before you had the mid range. You know, here's a mid range. You'll see mid ranges, but you cannot count that out. But what I would predict is tomorrow is we either gap up, push up, and then we fail. We could gap up, and if we end up gapping up and pushing forward, we could come all the way back up to 130 in this whole area. And guess what? We will end the week where we started, or where the week before ended. So that's exactly what's been happening. You see how this week, see how this is the previous week's close, see how this week's the previous week's close. This could also be the week of a previous week's close. That would be 3 weeks where we ended at the previous week's close, which that's a huge consolidation pattern. And it's also the last week. Next week's the last week of the month. So you never know what could happen. But play the chart, know where you're at in reference to the levels, and you don't need to get every single move. You just need to get in at the best place and understand what's sort of going on.